with so many people that may not necessarily even care.
And then once you do that, then you can put together a content calendar too. So then you know what you're doing, and I know Justin, you love doing that.
Right.
You know,
We do them all the time,
we do
yeah.
that too with our folks, because it's like, you know, then you know on Monday you're doing this, on Tuesday you're doing this, and you can write a whole bunch of Monday things, and you know,
Yeah.
or write it all on everything for the whole week, and then you can just plan things out. So it's not like, oh shoot, what am I going to do today? You know, so you know exactly that's another thing that makes it a lot easier. And I know just in our business, I mean, you know, I'm running a company. We've got 5 folks. We're still small, but you know, I'm busy, so I'm not the one doing the social media stuff. Every once in a while I might post something, but I have a marketing manager, and he's the one who puts together the content calendar, and then he works with our intern, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the intern is out there. He writes some stuff that goes through the approval process.
Right.
You know, it's not, I'm not recommending you have an intern doing all your stuff, because you need to make sure that the message that's going out is approved by you guys, you know. But that is another option to do it, is to have somebody to help out.
Delegate a little bit.
To delegate a little bit, exactly. So, you know, he's been doing Twitter for a couple of weeks now, and it's been pretty cool to watch it. But,
Well, it's not, oh, go ahead.
So what if you guys can just do a quick, give us just a, you know, what industries are you in?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Super helpful.
yeah.
You want to start over here, Phil? You want to?
Design and manufacturing of small human electric power trucks.
We got it? Yeah.
I'm in accounting.
I own a custom picture framing studio and boutique gift gallery. Private schools, K through 8 and high school. Food manufacturing.
I'm on the board and I advise on employment matters.
I give away money.
Yeah, that sounds like a great job.
I like Mary.
Is there a list we sign up on?
Come and see me.
I own a couple of food cart pods. I'm in real estate,
Okay, yeah.
landlord.
Montessori, childcare, 3 months to 6 years.
Same organization, we've got 200 children.
We're focused on sustainable wood products manufacture. We are focused on the hospitality industry. We do things like tabletops out of sustainable woods, reclaimed woods, composites. Work in Ritz-Carlton. So we work mainly through high-end interior design firms. So we reach out to a lot of creative people. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a dessert business.
Excellent.
So what I was getting at there, you know, we're talking about how much time to spend and what to invest. I guess, you know, what I was going to share is some examples of what I've seen work, and it gives me a good, you know, context given the businesses here. But there are certainly some industries where social media just isn't that effective, and there are, you know, especially when you have limited time and money, to focus elsewhere. And I'll admit that even for us, as a digital advertising agency, for one, I don't really have the bandwidth to create great content all the time. I know it would be valuable for me, but it's tough. I know that it's hard. It would be valuable, but there are other more valuable things that I can do with my time personally. But that's not always true for every industry. If you're in a business where you need to connect with people, schools for example, who's your audience? You're looking at parents, people who, I think that's who you're probably targeting. So you want to build content that establishes trust with them, right? That establishes you as someone who they would want to trust their kids with. So you can't outsource that kind of content. It has to be super authentic. It has to be what you're passionate about. It has to be from you personally. I think that's where the challenge is there's only so many hours in the day. So unless you can duplicate yourself to be able to write the quality of content that you want, you know, that's the challenge there. So, you know, one other thing I'll say, and I really believe this strongly, is don't waste your time with with blogging and social media unless you're willing to really invest in it and be consistent.
Mhm.
Because you're sort of wasting your time if you just, post one article a month on your blog. It's not going to get you really. You need to put out high quality content and do it consistently. Once you open up that channel, keep feeding it. That's how you would grow it, and I think you'd be effective, especially if you can establish yourself as a subject matter expert. In your industry, for instance, you have a sort of a high tech or a creative environmental focus, and establishing yourself as a person who knows more about that than anyone else. You could write one article a week, and that would be ideal, right? One a week would probably be the minimum, I'd say, to have a solid blog. So be willing to invest at least that if you want to blog. Like accounting, for example. Is that are you doing client services focus?
Yeah, but I'm not looking for it. I'm purely kidding.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. I'm just curious,
Okay.
It's good to know. Anyways, I'll pass it on to you guys.
Well, and as you consider your audience may not always be your clients or your customers. It may be your strategic partners. Those are maybe your channel partners here that are looking for information, that are looking for those that can help them, better serve their clients as well. So, thinking about the content and who you're talking to is beyond just your customers, but how you represent yourself in a community, in your business.
Yeah.
I've seen like doctors, for instance. I follow a couple on Facebook that put up really great content about, they post videos of themselves talking about something like a common myth about a cold and flu, and they post that kind of content regularly, and I mean regularly, like daily or at least weekly, and it ends up being effective if they have high quality, authentic content. That's what it comes down to. And I think if you're in a position where your industry allows you, where you have something to say that you think people would want to hear, or you have enough stuff in your mind that you would want to share with people, then it makes sense to really blog. If you have a bakery, like in your situation, I think, is it a local business then?
Mhm,
You have,
it is, yeah.
Yeah, so, and are you selling, like, people come into your store, or do you do wholesale?
It's not a brick and mortar, but they can come to the kitchen and
Okay.
pick up. So for me, I think the newsletter has been most successful. I can post pictures, visuals are really important. And the times when I've posted a recipe or something that added value, I've gotten great response from that. So I think it's a good point you made not to get too spread out with the Twitter and all of that, just to be really focused on, something that you're really providing good value on.
And I think too, content is a lot of things. It can be writing, it can be video, it can be pictures and graphics. For myself, I'm not a phenomenal writer. So honestly, I've been a little bit, because I know that my writing skills, it's okay, but it's not like phenomenal. But one thing about the social media too is that I don't think people expect you to have phenomenal writing, really. If you can get your point across, if you don't want it to be like loaded with spelling errors, so maybe have somebody edit it. But it doesn't have to be just like this thing that you work on, for months and stuff like that to get this perfectly, crafted piece. Because things are moving so fast. If you just get something out there, a little something with some pictures, some video. Yasmin can talk a little bit more about that. We just did an infographic. Do you guys know what that is? Have you seen those? Yeah, it's kind of an article, but it's just like filled with pictures. And ours was about what to do when your developer is missing in action, and it's kind of cute. And so there's other ways to do content versus writing. So if writing isn't your thing, if your folks are gonna those pictures of the cupcakes or whatever it is you're creating. It's probably going to be a lot more impactful than a whole article that you've written about a cupcake, for example.
Yeah,
So.
video is always, like, as far as the data out there and statistics, video is the most effective type of medium right now online.
Mhm.
So if you can create good quality video, demonstrating whatever it is that you're good at or whatever your business does, and sell it through video. I think that's probably the most effective media. And then you always want pictures. With any written content, you need a picture. Even if you're just posting something on Facebook, accompanying it with a picture drives people to look at it and click on it. So that's sort of a given, I think, to have pictures. That's just really important. And people, like you were saying, they don't have a ton of time to read, a 2-page essay. So keeping things sort of surface level, or being really good at writing concise, rich content. People love quotes, right? Like where you make them think about something deep with 2 sentences, right? That's more effective, but I know that's very difficult to create. But that's the type of content that really works online, where people don't have a lot of time. Recipes, I mean, that's great if you did 1 recipe a week, let's say, and it could just be, like a variance on something you do every week, right? Like adding a new ingredient or experimenting or whatever it is.
Yeah, or letting people know what's seasonal.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do something I never do, and I'm disagree with Solar. So, and I mean, I agree with almost everything except for the fact that I've done a lot of competitive analysis for content engagement in social media. The #1 most effective content you can provide are pictures, are images. Nothing inspires, captures, motivates people like images, and it speaks to the point people don't have time to read a blog post unless they're really interested and you have something really important to say. For you, ma'am, Pinterest would be a huge play if you're not already on it. Yeah, and that's a great platform for you. But video is very powerful, and it's right up there. It's second.
Short video.
Short, yeah, yes, and that is key, and that's what Yasmin excels at, as a matter of fact. I always, watching a video, I always play a little game. At what time do I start tuning out? It's about a minute every time. I'm like, I'm done with this, and I stop it and I go, how long is it? Oh, a minute. Anything over that, I don't have time for that. And video plays very specific roles, and Yasmin can disagree with me here if you want. But video is so powerful. For example, if you're selling a pair of shoes online and people really want to see what that shoe looks like, they don't want just a static image. They want someone talking about it and what the features are of this shoe and how durable it is. That's really powerful. If you're an accountant, and I know you don't care right now, but people want to differentiate accountants. I moved to Hood River recently and was looking for a doctor, and it's like there are these names on a list, and I don't know what the doctors are and different. And I was just wishing, I want to send all of them to Yasmin and have them do videos for them, so I could actually see them and get to know them and know what their personality was like and learn who they are. And so that's very powerful, but hands down, images. I mean, anything you're doing social or online, your images better be awesome, and your copy, your writing, better be short and sweet. Because people don't have time to read a whole bunch of stuff. I don't care how interesting your story is. It can be a lot more interesting if it's short. It's not like a paragraph at the most.
So I generally agree with the one caveat. So you're right, except half the time you were saying how the video is what got you, the video of the doctor, the video.
No, I wish they had that, but
of course,
when I'm doing these analysis,
because it's effective.
It's the photos. It's the photos.
I agree with you, and I think that there's a place for it. And I don't know what the stats are that you're looking at. The ones that I'm basing it off is when you're dealing with people who are already engaging with you on your website, for instance. Like the statistics I'm thinking of are in regard to conversion rates, and when someone's on your website about to make a decision whether to call you or fill out your form or whatever it is, having a video on a page like that where they're ready to engage with you but haven't yet, that's when the video is the most effective thing. But I don't know, if it's just...
No, you're 100% right.
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking and Solar just kind of hinted at it as different cycles where your audience is engaged. So at the very beginning, when they're just discovering you, you want it short and sweet and something that's going to make an impact to dig a little further. But as you dig further, you want some substance. You want meaning. You want story or that why that helps you get over that decision, that call to action where you're making that phone call, you're making email, you're making that purchase. So depending on where you are in that cycle, there's the different levels of effectiveness in the type of content. Now, when it comes to video, similar to social media, we tend to think of video a lot of times as this commercial or an infomercial, and that it needs to be produced into a single video. But again, with the social media mindset, shifting that is that thinking of video as multiple opportunities to engage, to educate, to add value, really short snippets. I mean, Justin mentioned, about the minute mark. There's studies that have shown that right about the minute mark of videos, you lose almost 54% of your audience already. And right when you get to about the 2-minute mark, you've lost like 90%. So you've got to get that message across, and the idea is to try to keep each single video with a single message versus try to put too many things in there, because then your audience gets confused. And a confused audience is audience is someone that doesn't buy. And so you want to be able to chunk it down. And there's a lot of strategies, as well as as Samar mentioned, being authentic too. That's really important, especially when the decision-making process relies on building a relationship and that trust. And so what are those components that elevate that trust factor then? And so those are some of the things that we help our clients with, is the strategy part as well as the actual production. Because too often we focus on, well, I need to make a video, I need to, and yeah, anybody can make a video, but can you really make effective content that delivers the results you're looking for?
Yeah, playing on what Yasmin's saying, if you think about your customer's buying cycle, or conversely your sales cycle as a funnel, which people like to allude to a lot, right? The top of the funnel is all about brand awareness. You got people that are just kind of walking around trying to figure out what's going on here, and you have different content at different places to kind of nurture people through that funnel to the point where they get to the bottom and they're ready to convert. And that's where, as Solar was saying, video is really effective. When you've got people's attention and they're making that final decision, video is really effective. One of my favorite tools, and you can use it for free up to a certain point, is called Zoom Social. It's ZUUM, social.com. And you can set up a free account, and you can run a competitive analysis report on your brand and pick anywhere from 5 to 10 competitors. And it only works if you have competitors that are active. So if you're the only one first kind of getting into social media, it's going to be really difficult. But it'll tell you what kind of content is getting the most engagement. So are people clicking on it? Are people sharing it? Are people commenting on that content? And really allow you to see not just what kind of content, but what days, what times people are engaging the most. And that kind of goes back to understanding how much to do and when to do it. The newest study just came out. Saturday and Sunday are the highest engagement on social media. And so most people are just focusing on the Monday through Friday work week. And it actually turns out that the highest percentage of people are engaging with brands on the weekend when they've got time to mess around.
Well, to continue on what Justin started to allude to, some resources. So if you guys do have them, if you can share some free resources, tools that are available to help with social media and their new or continuing efforts with social media.
I'll start. In the education realm, there is tons. Anybody can become a social media expert. Just don't call yourself a guru, or people will laugh at you. One of my, eMarketer.com is great if you're more into numbers. One of my favorite companies out there, I think they're really smart, is a company called HubSpot. And they're out of Cambridge. They're a bunch of crazy smart people, and they sell very expensive software that allows you to track all your conversions. So it starts at $1,000 a month. So you guys are not their target demographic, but they provide tons of free content on how to market for it's a very high level, but for small businesses. What's a hashtag in Twitter and how to use it. How to write relevant content, how to use video effectively, and what's the difference between the different social platforms. So they're kind of one of the champions of inbound marketing. That's kind of the newest the newest thing. It's not really that new, but the newly labeled thing. And they have webinars. They come out with probably 10 articles a day, free ebooks. So I mean, all this stuff is free. So if you or you have someone that's working under you that you want to put in charge of your marketing, and it's not just social media, it's the full digital marketing, there's tons of free resources out there that that you could spend all day reading about social media if you want. You easily could. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my predictive text changed that. What was that site called?
HubSpot?
HubSpot.
Yeah.
Okay, my predictive text.
Yeah, so that, the HUBSPOT, yeah. And they have tons of webinars. Salesforce does webinars. There's the nice thing about digital marketing is we're the first early adopters of this value-based marketing. And so we're doing it all the time, and especially in social media. There's just, it takes time. You're going to have to actually learn it or tell someone else to learn it if you're lucky enough to have someone like that. But anybody can be an expert, like we were saying before, especially in social media. Anybody can become an expert if you're willing to put the time in. I'm sure I'll think of more as you guys are talking.
On the video side, there's a site called Real SEO, REEL SEO.com, and they have great tips. They have lots of latest news on insights. It's a really great resource if you're really considering video as a marketing tool. So that's a free information site. It's updated regularly. And the other part, offline, really is getting connected to different meetup groups and other social, other groups. There's a social media club here in Portland as well that has, folks that have been in the industry as well as others that are just getting started. And in those exchange, it really enables you to kind of distill down what are, from this massive, pool of information and sites, what are the important ones to look out for? And so I encourage you to kind of reach out into the actual physical community and go to some, like the social media club and a few others that focus on this particular topic.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to hear, a lot of people when they hear social media, digital media, it seems very not personal, and it's great to hear from from all of the things that we've talked about, whether it be engaging in value and your customers and what they want and the communities to get information, that it's really, what most people do expect is you need to connect, and connecting with people, and it's still a people-based system. It's still people you're working with, it's still people you're working for. So that, for me at least, is comforting, coming from the older way and trying to figure out the new social media, is that it's still about trying to connect with the people and the values, and it's not so disconnected with a computer.
Right.
So I'm gonna thank you guys so much for answering all the questions I had prepared. I want to now open it up for all of you. I'm sure there's been wheels turning, and it may not come out right now, but if you have any questions right now, I want to fire away. Go ahead, Mark.
Facebook and Twitter, what do you do to drive people to your page? If you only have 5 followers, you're doing all this work just to reach 5 people. What do you do beforehand to drive interest to your page?
Facebook, with the recent IPO, it has really made it hard to organically grow your community. They want you to advertise. They're doing everything in their power to make it so that you spend money through them. So it's difficult. What I do personally is try to leverage the connections you already have. So for example, if you go to an event, take pictures and tag other people in those pictures. They can opt out if they don't want, they don't think it's a good picture or whatever. But that has been, for me personally, managing different social media, especially on Facebook. When I include other people, I get so much more engagement than if I'm just posting something on behalf of the company, because all their friends see it and they care and they interact with that. Twitter is like, and I say this all the time, but Twitter is like whispering in a full auditorium of screaming people. Twitter is is very specialized, and there's a very specialized group of people that are kind of on it. Twitter is all about leveraging events. So when the Super Bowl's going on, people are tweeting about it and paying attention to what's going on. You know, when there was the uprising in Egypt, you know, people cared about what that was going on.
But tonight, there's a lot of...
Tonight, oh, I guarantee you Twitter is going absolutely wild tonight. You know, one of the smartest things... About this event, obviously.
What's the hashtag?
Portland Business Journal does a 40 Under 40s award every year. And the last year that they did it, they have placards at all the different tables, and they encourage people to tweet throughout the event. And then, you know, every 5 minutes or so, they would stop and they would read out the most interesting tweet. Well, everyone in the audience was like heads down on their phone tweeting because they wanted to be mentioned in front of this whole group. And I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, should we be engaging with stuff instead of sitting there on our phones the whole time?
But does it drive sales?
Does it drive sales? No, probably not.
What I've seen
To be quite honest,
so it's
no.
one of those things that.
But it
Drives your
increases
brand.
it increases engagement, and you know, you reach these kind of these outside communities because someone that's at the event is tweeting about you, and someone that's paying attention to what they're doing, which may only be 1 or 2 people, finds out about you. So is it going to drive sales? No, and that's Solar does a lot of paid search advertising. That drives sales. I mean, that hands down, that's driving sales for you. Video conversion, that's driving sales for you. Tweeting, unless you are crazy smart about it or get really lucky and it just blows up, that's not moving the needle for you. And that kind of goes back to originally we were talking about setting priorities and understanding, like, look, I've got limited budget. I need to focus on things that move the needle for me. And Twitter, quite honestly, doesn't do it.
Twitter for business. Go ahead, Yasmin.
Part of that is figuring out what is the purpose of that tool. Twitter's a great tool for discovering communities where people are. So instead of you tweeting out and sending out messages, do searches on Twitter and find where are those people engaged and talking a lot about a certain area, and then how do you position yourself to be a part of that community and engage in that conversation versus, hey, pay attention to me in this loud room and whispering. Now you're trying to like, okay, how do I find out where I need to be and position myself?
Somebody could be asking a question that you know the answer to, and that's perfect. Then they're like, oh, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about.
You can, with some of these tools, like Hootsuite is one that Justin mentioned, and TweetDeck. I use TweetDeck, and it lets you set filters for different search words. So, for example, for you, you could do baking or cupcakes or whatever it is, and then you see a stream of live feeds from pretty much around the U.S. or the world of people talking about baking, and most of it is nonsense. And you could get more specific, I think, on some of these channels and target locations, so people in Portland. And then search for those. And if you see people saying, "Oh, I love a good bakery," or "I'm looking for people," because people post stuff like, "I'm looking for something," or "Anybody know a good physician?" or "Anybody know something like a good accountant?" You want to be able to listen for that. So I think it's great to listen, like you're saying, and then plug in when it's meaningful.
Yeah.
But what I found with Twitter for business, it's like the people who I see using Twitter effectively for their business are big names, people who are somewhat celebrities within their industries, venture capitalists that people follow like crazy because they have money and everybody wants to see what they're investing in. Yeah, sure, they'll tweet stuff because they know they have thousands of people following them, right? But even that, it's like, the companies that I think are successful are companies that have products, that have physical products, that are selling them online, like Dell, for example, a huge Twitter presence. And they do millions of dollars in sales through Dell or through Twitter by posting Twitter-specific offers. So they build this Twitter community that all these people know that, okay, if I'm following Dell on Twitter, I'm going to get once a quarter, they're going to put something up there randomly where I can save an extra $200 on a widget. That's effective, because then people are always anticipating you, and then they're following you for that reason. But it's tough for a small business. I think it works well for really large companies. So I think that.
To your question, let offline drive the online stuff. So if you have brick and mortar and people are coming in, make sure that you have content there or engagement there that lets them know that, is driving them to your online stuff. Events are really powerful to do that. And then even on some online stuff, any kind of content you provide. If you have a newsletter that's going out, you better have social plugins or like little social icons there that allow people to share it, because that's really number one goal is to get people to share your content. Number two goal is to let them know, hey, I'm on Facebook. You can engage with me if you want. I'm not going to beat you over the head with it, but I post stuff all the time. So come check it out. And that's that. Once again, that's that attracting model. But just posting on Facebook to try to get more people on Facebook to pay attention to you, it's going to take a long time. You're going to just get frustrated. It's going to be really tough.
One last point on the Facebook part is that if your overall goal with the Facebook, when you mentioned the number of likes, is to gain reach, then you got to think about the goal is reach, and so it may not necessarily be the right metric to measure that reach. And so when Justin mentioned taking pictures at events and tagging people, and now you're getting your goal without increasing your likes. And so what are those metrics that are in alignment with your overall goal rather than what we think are those metrics?
Mentioning taking photographs, isn't there a legal, do you need to get permissions? I'm always a little nervous with copyright or events. You take a photograph of somebody and you post it. What are the
If you're using it as a direct sales message, then you need to get the permission. If you're using them as a model for your product, you need to get the permission to do that. If they are at a public event, you can take as many pictures as you want. And there's been cases that have battled this out. There's one in Portland actually recently where a nightclub promoter took a picture of a lady. She was kind of drunk, and she got really pissed and said, you can't, and he used it on his posters. And she said, you can't use this on your posters. That's me. You don't own me. And the judge ruled that, no, you're in a public event. You're out there. People can take pictures of you. So, there's, if someone designs something, like there's a great photograph, and you want to use that on a blog post, legally, you need to ask them permission to do that. And I say legally because it's happening all the time and no one's asking permission. And unless you are a huge brand, it doesn't make sense for them to sue you. And it really doesn't. You might get a cease and desist letter, but I think people are a lot more worried about that kind of stuff than they need to be to some extent. But ask. That's the best thing to do. Say, I love your photograph. I really want to use it. The other thing is, especially with photographs, Shutterstock. If anybody, you guys go on Shutterstock at all, and there's a couple other competing ones, Shutterstock.com. They have just thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs, and it's like $19.95 to buy it, and then you can use it as much as you want. So if you're looking for great, to make a website really nice, or to use, for your email marketing, you can buy images on the cheap.
And I'll just say, make sure you do buy the image. I've had a lot of clients that have actually gone out and they've found images different places. Maybe they go up to Getty.
Google search.
Google image search, yeah.
Right, and they find an image, and the company might not have a real distinct watermark, like Shutterstock has a watermark, iStock Photo has a big watermark on it, and then when you buy the photo, the watermark goes away. But some of these other companies, they don't have a big watermark on them, and so people think, oh, I'm just going to use this. Well, Getty, for example, and a lot of these other folks, they have software that goes around and it scans the web and it finds every single image out there. And they will come after you, even years. You owe me $1,500 for that photo. I've got a client dealing with it right now. So anyway, buy your photos. You don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm a custom picture framer, and the artwork, it's like when you go to a photographer's studio, you have your portraits taken. You own the picture that you bought, but you don't own the photograph. You can't just take it to Walgreens. When people bring me my art, the design is mine. I own the design, but it's a very kind of blurry line on the art is yours. So I'm always a little hesitant, without getting permissions, when I photograph a piece after it's been completed and posting it. And then the other section of the photograph question was, we have events monthly at my gallery, taking pictures. So it sounds like if I just take broad, random picture of the store, I'm okay
Yeah.
with
yeah.
that.
Yeah, you are.
And if they're modeling one of the, I represent over 100 artists, so if they're modeling
Mhm.
a piece, then perhaps I need to,
Yeah, I always ask. I mean, that's definitely the best. And quite honestly, I suspect that if you ask, they'd be flattered, and you're
Yeah.
doing them a favor. I mean,
Yeah.
you're providing more exposure to them and reference them. You know, artwork by
Then-
Joe Blow.
asking is one thing, is there a legal document? Because everybody in the moment can say, yeah, fine, but
Mhm.
after it's done with,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, there's-
that's what I.
yep.
There's model release
Yep.
forms.
Model release.
Yep. And
You can also videotape your
your interaction.
your interaction.
Yeah.
Because verbal is just as good if you can prove it.
Yeah,
Get a release for that.
or an email. I mean, if you have any kind of written documentation of an exchange, and you know, email is pretty well, especially because you know if you have a piece of paper and you sign it, you can go, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
sign that. Yeah, you emailed me that. That came from your email address. That can be provable in court.
You can include it in a post photography session
Mhm.
survey about how well you did, and you know get feedback from your customer, and then
Right.
at the same time ask them for their permission to use.
I think really giving somebody credit,
Yeah,
linking to
I
their
agree.
website, they're gonna love that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
yeah,
gonna help
and
them.
I
So-
understand, you know,
Yeah.
people like it, but there's, you can like it one moment and not the next.
Yeah, that's
And
where you
Yeah.
have to,
on that, are you taking photographs of somebody's artwork in your framing?
Yes, yes, the complete, well, there's multiples. I'll take sometimes a progression of what it looked like when it came in, and then what it looked like when it left. But I'm selling my design, my art. I'm